stochastic fiction game. The stochastic fiction game is a timed writing game that I'm going to start with the press of that and the enter of this command on the command line to execute a script that's going to generate the stochastic fiction outline. The script does create random output, and it does have a timestamp of the time right now. I'm going to open this up. This file has been created, and it is right here. So for today's stochastic fiction outline, this is the story for today and its story elements. I will write the story within this time, and I will read it at the end. So if you are viewing this during the future, there's likely a link just to skip off all of the narrative of what inspires me to write this story, as I also discuss it out loud. Because I got to have a story that has these story elements within it. For setting time present, for setting main location vehicle, conflict person versus person, quantity of primary characters 1, point of view third, tense present tense, genre science fiction, format flash fiction. Well, those are the story elements for today's stochastic fiction game. And I think these are pretty well stuff I can write. Science fiction, yeah, my mind's in science fiction. Present tense, that is the perfect tense for me to write. That is my default tense. So I can handle that. Point of view third, I don't have to think of a good narrative though. I want to mix up the way that I narrate a thing. Third person, I'm not in the mood for doing a you second person today. The only challenge I see, and this is flash fiction, even if it was story first chapter, being inside a vehicle for an entire chapter is not a hard story to write. Not if you've done a lot of these. Now, is it a good, hard story to write if you want it to be good? Certainly. Any story is difficult to write if you want it to be good because you're going to be editing a lot. And thinking of editing, I don't want to go back and think that this is the future, but it's science fiction, so it has to be a science fiction thing that happens in our current present, because I don't have really time in a flash fiction story to invent an entire world. If this was format novel first chapter or format novel middle chapter, then maybe we can have some world in that present time, science fiction, blah, blah, blah. The person versus person and only having one primary character in this story is a little bit odd to me, and that's probably the one that I'm going to have to talk out loud about enough, because I can see this person already driving along the road. And I can also say in my mind, as I talk out loud about people driving and media, because, I watch stuff on television and I hear stuff on the radio and I note that stuff down. I even note browser and all the history, and I save that stuff. And so then it also helps me enforce my memory. And one memory I have right now about driving on a road, I think, is from a movie clip that I haven't seen. A clip from a movie that I haven't seen, which is the One Battle After Another. I mean, I'm thinking driving right now, that comes to my mind as far as cinematic storytelling. But now as I talk out loud and I'm thinking in a vehicle, I'm thinking of the many hundreds of miles I've driven to youth baseball team games. But that was with other people, not alone. So that's that's getting a general feel where I can start taking my nonfiction and creating a fiction. Because you can only write what you know and then lie about it to create the fiction. So let's try to do this with flash fiction. I should do flash nonfiction. That would be difficult then, though, because then I'd have to delve down deep into really deep and personal stuff to expose the roots of that, then write the nonfiction stuff about it to make it any interesting, worth reading. Man, that is a thing I might flash nonfiction. I got a video game flash nonfiction. I can take all the video games I played for video game flash fiction and force myself to write nonfiction stories about that somehow. Side tangent, let's get back. Person versus person. They're both in a car, and the reason I probably thought of that is because I see most of these scenes of who's the actor in that? Leonardo DiCaprio driving around by himself, all frustrated, and that's telling a story there. It's tense. You got the conflict, so it's going to pop into my mind. Driving alone to youth baseball hundreds of times. I didn't, on occasion though. It was always with everybody else though. It was a family thing. So it's not even person versus, not like one primary character. So there's got to be like one person in the car. That's probably why I'm thinking of that movie, and I keep going back to it and saying out loud. So I'm going to weave that out of my mind, unweave possibly, because if I'm trying to use some sort of fabric as metaphor for weaving a plot, I would be unweaving it, or a story, from that. Now that I say it out loud, we could have this story as science fiction too. That's even better. And they're in a vehicle. It doesn't have to be a car, does it? It's a vehicle. I default to cars because that's just what's around. I don't walk outside and there's lots of hover planes going about, or sky choppers, or some sort of science fiction flying vehicle. Which is, of course, the easiest way to introduce the fact to somebody, at least in this society right now and today, is like you have this concept of a flying car traffic. All right, so that they're going to be flying in a car. That's an easy way for this to be like present time, but flying in a car. And the person versus person, it could be like their nemesis on the ground for some reason. Like, why are they nemesis? If it's person versus person, they're competing against something. And I don't want to make this thing about sports. I don't want to make this thing about work, because that's what I do most of the time, and that's just jaded, for me at least. Person versus person, I can't grasp that. They're flying in a car. It's going to be a flying car. It's definitely going to be a flying car. That will at least give me a science fiction. But then why it's present? Then you got to think it's got to be about time travel, right? So like, I don't want to go like dimensional space. Well, I mean, you could, because that's the whole idea behind most not great, and not most, some good and a few great stories of science fiction is like that person invents the time machine to go back to the future, or the box that changes dimensions. It's all secret and you don't know about it. And if this is person versus person, and this is science fiction, it's not science fiction fantasy. I should probably include that into the script. I'll finally post this script probably by the time this publishes too. I've had the script changed and rewritten in Python for months, but I haven't posted it yet. I will. So when I include this link into the video during the future, I should have it. So click on the link if you want to see the script that creates it and fix it yourself. By then, maybe it will be updated. But let's talk about this story, because I need a person versus person flying in a car, and I need some sort of tension. And I don't need another action adventure story. Well, maybe I do, because I don't read a lot of action adventure. But you got to make sure it's not about work. It's not about sports. Or jaded dystopian politics. I'm lost. I'm trying to like think the thing. Person versus person flying in a, if you're having this present day and they're flying in a car, there's got to, that's the tension. And maybe it has to be about invention, creativity, maybe decisions, conflict. What's the conflict? why is this person, there's another, it's going to be like the thing that's coming to my mind and I'm trying to talk away with because I don't want to write the story is about two scientists. They created a flying machine, and one wants to, maybe that's just it. It'd be about work though, and maybe I should just accept it. Everything I write in life is about sports or work. Man, like if I was a different person right now, I'd probably be look at this an opportunity to make it like a sexy science fiction story where maybe the conflict is a relationship, an emotional relationship, and that's maybe oh God, yeah, time to self-reflect. I'm inhuman. I think about work and sports. I'm imagining a science fiction story with some sort of emotional, physical contact or relationship is so foreign. It's just distant. What does that say about me? It means I'm a cold human. I think that's it. I think that's it. I think I'm going to do the romance or relationship or something. The one relationship I was thinking of was like there's two, this is where I want the story to go. This would be the easy way. This would be my fun, cynical fuck society type situation would be, and just, or like show society. Let's just not do, I think, God, wasn't that part of Mr. Robot, the F Society? That's right, it was. They used that. It was great. Like honestly, that was a show. I liked the ending. It was a great. Anyway, let's not get on a tangent because this is not Mr. Robot. I just said F Society, and that I had to call that thought out where that probably came from. Well, I mean, I've said that before, but it probably is burned in my mind anyway. Stop tangent. I'm just talking around the fact that if I were to have it as that type of story, which is something that I write about way too much, especially when it comes to work, and how the corporations of the world treat the worker, because you're just a tool to them. And that's fine, but at least be honest about it, I suppose. And help me find which socket best fits for whatever idea you need to turn. And let's make this about, I was thinking about someone who invents a thing and then the capitalist who steals it from the scientist. So this would have been a flying car about someone with money and a lawyer suing to get false credit to be a founder, flying the car away now that they own it, and having a brief moral conflict about stealing this idea from the inventor and claiming credit for it just because you got the money and the lawyer. I don't want to go there today. I go there every day. Let's write about romance. And let's write there is one person in the car. And is it going to be, let's not make it break up. Let's make it, in my mind, story about proposal, questioning a proposal. And it just happened to be in a flying car. The person versus person. How does that work into that? That's the only conflict that I got. They're going to be in a car. I just got to figure out with the conflict, because you don't got a story without conflict. At least one that's fiction and good. Yeah, I'll generalize good. That you need conflict in a good fiction story. Else you might just go read nonfiction. You'll get more from it. Less BS. It's only been 15 minutes of this hour, 90 minutes. I think I can still do this. It's got to figure out Ooh, it could be something topical too, like person versus person. I mean, this would be more person. The conversation alone in the car about some attribute about your potential pair bonded person, the one you want to marry. So this is what I've got in my mind right now. That this person, I don't know gender overall for that. Um, I wish I had a dice near. I do somewhere. I can flip a coin, flip it twice. We'll see. But I was imagining that they're flying away in this car. They're flying to. I was gonna have a marriage proposal, and they were going through the list of things that they're questioning and whether they mattered. Those little nitpicky things. But then that's not. I'd go dark with it. I mean, I'm just in that place in my mind right now, unfortunately. So let's make this about the first date and the expectations. The person versus person, though, it doesn't really. That'd be more person versus self. The person alone in the car, psychoanalyzing themselves, or at least analyzing themselves, and the preparedness to meet a person for the first time and give a good impression. Like internal dialogue. This would be third person, so I could just do more showing and telling. I don't know. That's not going to be it, though. Give myself 3 minutes, maybe that will be it. But a person versus person, it's going to be like that. That is. I mean, I guess the primary character could still just be the focus, and there could be two people in the car. They just can't. It's going to have to be an out loud conversation. Are they arguing? And it's got to be flash fiction. It's got to be science fiction. Fuck, man. Because it's like any argument or tension you have with science fiction these days, or like some choice of not doing it, not putting a chip in your head, or blah, or like having robot dog. Unless you made it simple. But it's got to be kind of present. For some reason, they're flying in a car. They're in a V. Okay, I think I got it. I was thinking arguments or tension points. Some that are. This is kind of close to home too. So we go back to the only writing what you know. You can only write what you know. Everything else, and then you can build upon the lie, and that will help you build upon your lie of fiction. You can only write what you know, and it'll help you build your own fiction. I've said that a lot. I got to refine it a little bit, but let's continue on with this. Two people driving in a car, having a conversation if they're going to get a real dog or a robot dog. The science fiction is the fact that there's a robot dog here. And in a light way. I don't know, that just goes dark. I'm having difficulty focusing. Let's just write something. It's not going to be a flying car, because that would have to be the whole point of the story if it was present time. Invention, and the struggle over invention. We'll say Sarah created the robot dog. Let's go there. At least that's where I want to try to go. And we'll see if it's a place that the story does. Sarah. Yeah. a robot dog. Sarah created a robot dog. Person versus person, though. Like, this not being about work or sport. It could be about a baking show or a game. It was like the game thing, too. I can gamify. I've seen enough, and I've wrote enough. So let's try to do this person versus person about Sarah, who and I gotta go creates a robot dog. Person versus person, though. Now we gotta go back to like, it's got to be in a vehicle. Fuck. That's why I had a flying vehicle. Takes care of that. Okay, it's time. I'm just gonna default to what I do. I tried. I really did try. I tried to be original and unique, but I can only be me. Sarah flies launches man, I use the name Sarah way too much. I'm gonna try a different name today. Kara. We'll keep gender role names there, just cause. I've already started building the story up in my mind. It's not gonna matter. No, it's not like there's gonna be story hinting with misogyny in this. I'm gonna try to remove misogyny out of. I can't even say a word today. Fudge. I can't think on this. She guides a flying car. I just got lost in the name. I went off on some weird tangent. I think I started thinking about my money job. Writing code. That was weird, man. That's what happens when I like start getting off on these tangents and subjects, and then now I've triggered it, so I'm going to start pulling in metadata from that emotion into this story, and god damn it. See, that's why I didn't want to write about work. And if I write about sports, I'd probably like have some side tangent thinking about my fantasy football team, because it's just going to draw my knowledge in, suck my thought away, consume it. Or a sports competition or a sports. Man, I'm thinking there's going to be some football today. Now that I talk about sports, let's focus on this. Not think about sports works, gaming for a story plot line. Instead, it's going to be about ideas and invention, person versus person, the inventor versus the person who paid the money, because making a flying car is expensive. Let's just name it Sarah to get over there. Guides the flying car she invented. From the launch. Sarah guides the flying car she invented from from the launch pad in the remote Texas field, thrusting she pulls back on the steering wheel that guides the thrusters. I think I like the whirling blades, that guide the whirling blades. Like having like fire thrusters just seems a bit excessive. And you're gonna have to like, assuming if you have fire, you've got some sort of, combustion, and then you're gonna have your fuel will be combustion and not electricity. So I want this to be an inventive car and be electricity, and it's gonna be like a light hover car. That way, it's at least, and it's still science fiction, because those things aren't legal nor really. They probably fucking do. Maybe it's a time travel. I don't know. This ain't really science fiction. This is more advanced. This would be happening now and be more advanced, and I'll pat myself on the back and think that I'm actually doing a science fiction story. I won't. It's trash. Sarah guides the flying car she invented and created from the launch pad in the remote Texas field. She pulls back on the steering wheel that guides the whirling. On the whirling weeds, that she designed. That's what I'm gonna do. I got it. I don't know if this is gonna be a flash fiction story. I'm gonna try to make it one, but I'm gonna at least will it out or write it out this way, and then we'll see where we get with Sarah. Maybe I should rename her into Kara or something, so I can at least feel like I'm dealing with a different name. I don't know many Sarahs. Maybe that's why I use the name. I try avoiding using names of people that I know, so people don't read into it ever. And because I collect all this data, I suppose the transcript I'm giving right now will tell some future large language context creating thing that I don't need to be talking out loud about this right now to remind it that I don't know many Sarahs. That data has been recorded before many times, as I've spoken out loud many times. Sarah guides the flying car she invented and created from the launch pad. No, she created it from the launch pad? Guides the flying car she invented, created. This is what I'll do. She pulls back on the steering wheel. How cool is this? It's gonna be let's up the science fiction. Like, this isn't gonna be guided by a steering stick, some physical object that I can grasp and move around. Yeah. You want to tell? Let's tell it. Yeah. And, and no one here. I have. She pulls back. No, she thinks. She thinks of the blue sky above. Her thoughts form trained patterns. This is more fun. This is way more fun. Right, I guess it's kind of about work and invention, and I think about that a lot. So she's definitely like in this position to. I, and her thoughts form trained patterns to instruct the car's whirling blades to lift the car and guide the car from the hangar and into the blue sky of Texas. I just put Texas. It's got a lot of fields. It's got a lot of area, and it's near an ocean. So I guess yeah. And that's where space. I think, yeah. I mean, it's either that or Arizona, and Arizona has a lot of military contractors or did. I'm sure it still does, and there's got a lot of space there. But it's just, yeah. I figure with the money of, I think they're doing windmills there, but they still got the oil. So let's just keep it in Texas. I feel like that is the pop culture place for potential startups these days. It's got enough land as well. Um, Into the blue sky of Texas. She sees text with her mind into that her helmet. I gotta write about the helmet. Her thoughts form train patterns captured to instruct the car's whirling blades to lift the car and guide the car from the hangar and into the blue sky of Texas. She sees text with her mind that her helmet patterns and sends to another helmet worn by let's just stick with the same gender so we don't have to throw in gender as a thing about the conflict. I don't have a dice. So, and story-wise, it just worn by, but I'm not going to name this person Sarah. Just go with Carson. Go Jen. Yeah, go Carson. Carson? Have I ever known a Carson that's not been gendered male? Or, yeah, I don't know. Let's just leave it and move on with life. Or at least the story. I'm sure I'll think about this again later, but probably not these stories. They don't stick around long. Most of the time. She sees text with her mind that her helmet patterns and sends to another helmet worn by Carson. I'm taking... Oh, wait. This is my 2. I'm taking... that. I'm lost, man. I'm thinking about Money Job way too much right now. It's distracting me. Fuck. I hate it. I shouldn't have done this about work. I should have done it about romance, and then I would not have been thinking about Money Job right now. Just keep slipping into my mind. Maybe I can look over this map right here. Yeah, man. Oof. This is terrible. I should not. This is like writing about work. The one thing I said I didn't want to do today. Sees text with her mind without her helmet patterns and sends to the homo while I'm taking the fantasy. I'm taking the car. I mean, this is lame. Let's do this in 2 paragraphs. and blue sky. In her mind, Sarah's helmet writes text to her mind. Thought from the lawyer and venture capitalist. Capital. I always get those two mixed up. Capital. We'll go with capital. From the lawyer to the venture capitalist. Carson. Who thinks from their bedroom. Who also wears a helmet. That Sarah invented. I mean, what this is a lot longer story. This would have been better of novel first chapter. Right now, it's stupid. It's bad story. I got 46 minutes to stare at the screen. That's what might be happening. At least force myself to think about how bad. How can I complete this though? With what I have, let's go with this. Let's just not rethink this. I don't got time to rethink it. I need to get this out, obviously. This is on the forethought of my mind. How the money job treats you. And I'm sure it's on the forefront of everybody's mind, and at least in the United States of America, because that drives our ability to live. So Sarah guides the flying car she invented and created. She thinks of the blue, like that. It's already gone there. Yeah, like Sarah guides the flying car she invented and created. Like at least. Yeah. Sarah guides the flying car she invented and created. She thinks of the blue above and envisions a rising to that spot. Let's finish something. Let's do this. I'm still side. I'm thinking about, man. And at this point in time right now, I mean, I have a money job. I still feel the rage. It's fucked up. I should have wrote about romance. Science fiction romance, not today. Sarah guides the flying car she invented and created. She thinks of the blue above and envisions a rising to that spot in her thoughts, from formed trained patterns captured by her mind captured by her helmet. To instruct the car's whirling blades to lift the car and guide the car from the empty hangar and into the blue sky of Texas. Sarah's helmet writes text to her mind. Through. No. It's Sarah. Sarah's helmet loads text from the lawyer and venture capitalist Carson, who also wears a helmet that Sarah invented and still controls the patents. And Carson thinks I'm going to use the restroom. It's one of those times. Got a cycle water. I still have enough coffee, at least in that cup. Man, I really don't want to be doing this right now, but it's part of the game. You just do it. I got 38 minutes to try to make this a story. Let's go back to the stochastic fiction game story elements. For today's stochastic fiction game story elements, we got present. I think I got that. We got main location vehicle. Yes. Person versus person. Got two people, one primary character. She is the primary character because she's going to be the receptacle and where the narrative is going to follow, and there's no other person in the car, and she's the one that invented it. Quantity of primary characters 1, point of view third. Let's just finish it. Why can't this be good? I'm trying. I can't see it. Can I make this into a positive story and still have a person-to-person conflict? What day is it? It's actually it's Christmas today. Let's see if I can get the joy of this season brings to other people and then put it into the story. Okay. That's how I can do it. The venture capitalist from the room is saying you're testing too early. She's not trying to steal. They're not trying to fight each other. They're not trying to take over each other. Their conflict is if she should test this right now. She wants to test it right now. Carson doesn't. She does it anyway. I like that story. That's the story I want. Where she thinks she's benefiting. And she has enough confidence that what she's created works, and is tired of Carson saying that they need to do some more testing. Um, by way of example, Sarah thinks into the helmet. It's ready. And I guess this would be fictional about the venture capitalist and lawyer who wants to go be safe and not be comfortable with killing other people to advance their investment. So this is also fiction in that aspect. Oh man. And I think it's going to be a time machine. No, let's just have it be a simple flying car. I mean, if I want to do super science fiction, I could have it be a time machine. I like this better. It makes my mind more at ease thinking about this as some sort of positive outcome, or at least a challenge between two competitive people with a common goal in mind and an outcome that they're both passionate about seeing happen. And just two different paths about how to get it done. Oddly, in this one, the venture capitalist is going to be the one that's saying slow down, think of safety, and the inventor, I think the inventor, though, that's pretty kind of par for course. They want to see it done, no matter the pain to get there. The true inventor, not the venture capitalist that pays the money and thinks they're inventing a thing because they can sit in on a meeting and say buzzwords and pay money. Talking about the one that actually and if it's, yeah, especially if they can test it on themselves. Those are cowards. Sarah guides the flying car she invented and created. She thinks of the blue above and the visions are rising. That spot in her thoughts form train patterns captured by her invented helmet to instruct the car's whirling blades to lift the car and guide the car from the empty hangar into the blue sky of Texas. Sarah's helmet loads from the lawyer and the venture capitalist Carson, who also wears a helmet, and Sarah invented and still controls the patents, and Carson texts thoughts. We agreed we needed more testing. It's ready or not. The Harvard car lifts above the whirling wind turbines. Sun gleams from its solar panels in white cockpit, big enough to sit three with trunk space holding Sarah's lunch. As she thinks, as she sees in her mind a pasture. I don't know Texas well enough, so this is going to be a bad fiction line. I know farmland, but I know Western farmland, not really Texas farmland. I've never even driven through Texas. I've been in Texas before. I've driven around Austin. God, was it Houston or, oh man. I think it was Houston. Houston. Wherever Compact was at. Memories. It was like 30-ish years ago. We'll just say there's a pasture. Sarah's lunch as she sees in her mind a pasture. In a grove. With a dirt field. Hard from breaking horses. Says Carson, standing from head and pulling on his shirt over his head. Over. See your thoughts. Just land. Just. The car flies. The car flies and wobbles and dips near the break in the land. And clips the tops of trees. One of the blades slows, pauses. The car dips. Carson wants to shout. The car spins in circles and wobbles. It rises, it falls. Carson paces a circle. Person versus person, I don't know. This is kind of person versus self. It's going to be some story. I don't want to. My mind's already trying to ride away from the darkness of just reality of. Yeah. Money job. Merry Christmas. You have a theme to spend your money on. I don't even know what theme this would have right now. Like, it's a neat story. But what's the resolution? They crash. Fire, mayhem, tension. The car flies and wobbles and dips near a break in the land and clips the tops of trees. One of the blades slows and pauses and car dips. Carson's wants to mentally call out to Sarah to stop, but he knows his thoughts. Her thoughts, we're gonna make it a him. We'll make Carson a him. Despite whatever reason I wanted to make it equal gender, let's make it different gender, and let's just genderize it with the whatever. Man, the thrill is not gone. I just want to get through this. I got 70. I'm going to use the last 70 minutes. I'm going to try to make something out. I just can't think of how to end this. Like the car spins, circles, wobbles, it rises, it falls. She wants to go to a place, a conflict, just to get there. I mean, God, like, why does something tragic have to happen? Like, why can't the tension be to success? I'm struggling with that in a lot of my stories and just my outlook. Like, I don't, 'cause success doesn't matter. No one cares. They expect it. Else you won't survive or have any sort of control over where you go. The more you fail, the less control you have. So it's easier for people probably also connect with failure stories because we fail in life more than we succeed. So when you write a story about success, it's like, I can't relate to that. We've trained ourselves to be submissive and expect failure, and at least I have. I shouldn't say we. The car spins and circles, wobbles, it rises and falls. Sarah sees clearly in her mind the pasture and the place, along with the instructions to help guide her robots. It's from the axle, the bearing, I don't know. I'm not thinking of like moving parts from the blade housing. Blade whirls. And Carson's pace slows to a stand, filling the flight for an instant and seeing what creation feels like. Sarah lands on that pasture. I'm done. Another story about work. 13 minutes left. I'm going to turn the timer off. I'm going to read this aloud and just be done. Try to think about something else. Of course, I got a bunch of stories I'm editing right now that are about work. I'm trying to get a book have someone help me with the paper publishing of it. It's about work, called Illegal Alien. And I'm writing another book that's about work. I'll never escape it. For today's stochastic fiction game story, we have these story elements: setting time present, setting main location vehicle, conflict person versus person, quantity of primary characters 1, point of view third, tense present tense, genre science fiction, format flash fiction. For today's stochastic fiction game, we have a flash fiction story called, tentatively, Creation. Creation. Sarah guides the flying car she invented and created. She thinks of the blue above and envisions her rising to that spot, and her thoughts form train patterns captured by her invented helmet to instruct the car's whirling blades to lift the car and guide the car from the empty hangar into the blue sky of Texas. Sarah's helmet loads from the lawyer and venture capitalist Carson, who also wears a helmet that Sarah invented, still controls the patents. And Carson's text, thought, store, and send. Thought we agreed needed more testing. Sarah thinks into the helmet. It's ready or it's not. The hover car lifts above the whirling blades, wind turbines in the white whisky sky. Sun gleams from its solar panels in the white cockpit, big enough to sit three with the trunk space, holding Sarah's lunch as she sees in her pasture and grove near a field and cleared and flat from horses and cattle that were broke and on that and wrangled inside the pen that is now empty and deserted. Sarah, says Carson, standing in his room and pulling a t-shirt around the helmet onto his body. We've not tested on dirt, just landed. I know we can't lose. The car flies and wobbles and dips near the break in the land and clips and tops the trees, and one of those blades slows and pauses and the car dips. Carson wants to mentally call out Sarah to stop, but he knows his thoughts will sway her from thinking thoughts to have the mini robot she created fix the blades that stopped. The car spins in circles, wobbles, and it falls. Carson paces in a circle in his room 1,000 miles away, feeling the car sway. Sarah sees clearly in her mind the pasture and the place along the instructions she helped guide. To help guide her robots pull the leaf from the blade housing. The blade whirls and Sarah flies. Carson slows to a stand, feeling the flight for an instant and seeing what creation feels like. Sarah lands on the pasture knowing what creation feels like. Well, I'll rate it. I do like the positive kind of snideful but not too dark end. At least I don't see it as dark, but I'm in a dark place right now. Because I'm thinking about money, job, and work, and where the state of the United States of America is in work, treating its workers, taking all the money to give it to the corporations, people that you can trust. Write a story. Give it a 3. Well, time to go work on something else.